I went ahead and just cut out a little piece of leather that's going to fit on the back. I'll just sew it on the back. I'll have to sew it before I fold this over, so I'm going to have to do some work on this and these back panels before I fold it over and glue it together. But this little tab will just fit in here, just part way down. And I'll probably have a little lanyard on this so you can pull it out. So I guess before I do anything, I probably ought to go ahead and bevel the edges on this so it's prepared and ready to go. Have a little beveling tool here. All it does is round the corners a little bit so it'll look more finished when it's completed. You can see that. There, you can kind of see that it's rounded on the, or beveled on the edge. So that'll end up being on the back side of this. I wanted to show you the original belt loop pattern I had, but I ended up making another one that's wider. You can see it's a little wider. This is about 2 1/4 inches, and it'll end up going on the back here. It'll have to be held down from the top so that the stitching can go around here. This is going to have to be sewn on first on this back side, and then the stitching around here. And I've kind of folded it like it's going to be when it's actually sewn on. So I'll cut a piece of leather for that, and it's of a size that gives me enough perimeter around here to miss everything with the stitching. Okay, I'll cut a piece of leather for this one. I'll probably make it a little bit long so that I have some material to trim off. And it's going to be of a thicker leather so it's nice and durable. I've cut a fairly thick piece of leather for the belt loop, and it's 2 1/4 wide, and I'm just going to make it a little bit long. I'm going to go ahead and cut this shape at the bottom. I think I'll just trace it. And the way I did this is just a 45-degree cut on both sides, and it's a 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch across here. Okay, I think before I go any further, this is going to be folded around. I'm going to have to moisten it in order to get it to bend because it's pretty stiff right now. But I'm going to go ahead and bevel the edges because that's going to have to be done eventually. So I think the next thing to do is to get this wet so I can kind of mold it in the shape I want. And I'm going to have to moisten this too to bend it. And I found, I've tried just moistening this area to bend it, but it'll end up staining the leather or making a stain underneath the color when you're finished. So it's better to moisten the whole thing enough so that you can bend this and let it dry, and then it'll come out with an even finish once it's dyed. I've got the belt loop material wet, and I have two pieces of aluminum here that I've used before, and this is about 1.5 inches wide. It mimics the size of my belts. So the first thing I'm going to do is on the bottom here, I kind of want to have this folded down like a little lip, kind of like that. And all I'm doing here is just trying to get it to the right shape. So it'll be something like that, and then the loop will fold over. I'm going to let this dry and then cut off that excess. One other thing I wanted to do here was put a little groove on the edge of this belt loop. It just kind of gives a nice finishing touch. So I've run this little tool around here several times, and I'm gonna smooth the corners. Give you an idea what that looks like. Okay, I'll go back to folding this the way I wanted it. That doesn't look straight. I may have to do some work on that. While this belt loop back here is drying, I wanted to take this piece here. It's gonna go around this little striker bar and kind of mold it around the edge too, just so it kind of has a little pocket that will hold this flint striker. Okay, I'll let that dry now. I'm ready to get this moist so I can fold it over where that flint striker is going to fit right in here. I just got a sponge and I'm just going to dampen it to soften up the leather a little bit, but I'm doing it evenly so when it dries I won't have a stain because I just got it moist in certain areas. That should be about wet enough. And I'm going to use this pin as the form here because it's about the same size as this flint rod. And I'll just come back here once in a while it's drying and form it so it has kind of a nice seal around there, and when the stitching goes in there it'll hold onto it fairly snugly. So I'll just let this dry for a while and come back periodically. That's about as far as I can go right now until things are dry.